This is going to be Paladin, the Wicked Grotto, as a protection paladin. So I've been to this dungeon a few times now. This was the one that I missed on my Mistweaver. I've actually been to it with the same character before in a different role. Haven't had a tank perspective in here yet. Oh boy, and as soon as I come in... yeah, so there are some interesting group dynamics here. I think it's worth showing just for that. And since I haven't had tank perspective on this yet. So someone from Moonguard, a well-known roleplay server, is making her presence known as a roleplayer, which I feel like isn't something you really want to bring to a random dungeon group, but she's doing it. Alright, so Warlock is a roleplayer. She's here. We have a... what kind of healer is that? Is that a shaman? I think so. Yeah, okay. It's a shaman healer, hunter of some sort, and... what's the other one? Somebody with mana. Whole bunch of foxes. Always nice to see. Oh, right, that's the Warlock. She's the role player. Got it. Wait, was there another message in there? I see her name. Okay, oh boy. So yeah, she wants to do this with us, even though none of us are... let's see, I'm pretty sure Area 52 is not a roleplay server. I assume Thrall isn't. I know mine is not. So yeah, none of the rest of us are into this. Yeah, and that's gonna collide with other players who have different preferences in here. I'm not saying anything. I can just ignore it. Not too hard to do. Action bar looks about the same. Don't think I have any new abilities since last time. I might have Light of the Protector at this point and just not realize it. Let's see if I think to use it at any point through here. So yeah, this dungeon's pretty small. Oh right, so the other reason I really wanted to come back to this one is because all of the other times I've been here, we've killed the first two bosses there on the list, but not Celebrus the Cursed, because everybody leaves before killing him. I was kind of bound and determined to actually kill him this time, going through here. I'm going to keep going after Lord Viletongue and hope people don't leave, and actually try and get a kill on this third dude. It's kind of annoying and weird to get to him, but he's part of the dungeon. I have figured out at this point that he is definitely part of this, this particular dungeon, so you're supposed to do him. It's just, I don't know how I keep getting into the groups that decide not to. I think maybe part of it is the quests you get in here end at Viletongue, and you don't get another one for Celebrus. I don't know, it's just weird. Oh, okay, so there are Shadow Stalkers here. Got it. Okay. Yeah, so role players piping up again, of course. Being as she does. We can do without a rogue for a moment, so I'm just going to keep going. She can catch up, and that is no problem. Am I using my defensives? No. That's why I'm taking so much damage. Okay. Oh, there we go. Finally. Okay. So Shield of the Righteous was sitting there with 3 charges for a little while. I really do want to be hitting that button. It took me a bit to figure out how to use tank defensive moves. They're weird. There's like extra buttons you have to press to take less damage, and, you know, it's a good idea to press them, but you have to actively do it. Active mitigation, they call it. This was not nearly as much of a thing back when I played this game 8 years ago, but it seems like every tank now just has these extra buttons they have to press to take less damage periodically. I don't know, in situations like this, I don't have, like, a lot of ways to particularly predict when I'm going to take a big hit. Sometimes I do, I guess. I don't really... On an encounter I knew super well, I could maybe save up my defensives for times when they would be especially needed. But for the most part, I just kind of try to... So let's see, Shield of the Righteous, number 4. Reduces all damage taken by 20%, or maybe physical damage taken by 20% for 4 seconds at a time? It's like super short. And it's not the most obvious thing when it falls off. It's not like it has a 4-second cooldown or anything. I just have to see when the buff wears off. So unless I want to watch the extreme upper right corner of my screen while I'm doing this, I have to either just count out those 4 seconds or be okay without having 100% uptime on it. And, you know, if I use all 3 charges within 12 seconds, the first charge won't have come back by then, so I won't get 100% uptime no matter what I do on that. But I can keep it up for a while if I want to. It just feels real weird to do it. And then I can fill it in with whatever my number 9 ability is. I forget what it's called. But it's a similar effect, just on a different button and with only 1 charge. Longer cooldown. But again, reduces all damage by 20% for 4 seconds. I don't know why they are separate abilities, but they are. That one doesn't deal damage. Shield of the Righteous is also an attack that gives me some defense. Yeah, so Lord Viletongue's just in here. Really super short dungeon if you skip a third of it. Which, oh wait, no, this is not where I thought I was. Alright, he's a little deeper in here. Somebody set a symbol on me so they can keep track. Walking through here can be a bit dicey. I watch closely to see if anybody gets in trouble as we go by. Somebody did. I was ready. Skipping anything that's close-ish to the path you want to take in the dungeon is always risky because of that. You know, if somebody steps slightly off to the side, they'll gain some attention. So anytime I'm attempting a skip like that, which isn't very often, you know, I don't like to skip things generally, but that looked very skippable. But anytime I'm doing it, I try to stay hyper-aware of whether anybody has stepped off to the side at all for that. Another reason not to skip things like that would be like if somebody happens to die mid-combat and have to release their spirit and run back, they would have to go back through that gauntlet again. Maybe things would have wandered around slightly and they'd have a harder time sneaking through without attracting attention. So yeah, skipping things just... Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. It just depends. I have an earth shield on. Interesting. I don't usually get this when I have a shaman healer that I notice. Maybe I just don't notice, or maybe it's a talent they have to opt into, or maybe my shamans just haven't bothered to cast this spell before. 6 charges left. Well, when I get around to playing Restoration Shaman, I'll know then. Haven't created one yet, because I have plenty of other characters to be busy with. The last time I was here, healing on this character, somebody got into trouble when they were on the way up this particular stairway. So I feel like I should be looking around and seeing if there's any dudes patrolling around. Maybe it was that tree over there. Oh no, that's right. I looked back at that footage and had figured out what had happened. It was somebody from further back. In fact, I think it was the ones that I attempted to skip by going way to the right there. Somebody had walked back or died and had to run back and got their attention and brought them to the party or something. Anyway, that wasn't a problem this time. Why did I choose to stand there? I just put this monster out of line of sight of the warlock and put myself possibly out of line of sight of my healer. I should have stood at the top of the first flight of stairs there. That would have been better. Everybody would have been able to see everybody. Oh yeah, right, so before Lord Viletongue there are two of these dudes. Somebody... Hunterface over there has gotten his attention. Oh, there are three. Yeah, okay. So I would have preferred to take out the Shadow Stalker... Oh, there are four. Would have preferred to take out the Shadow Stalkers first. But, I didn't get that choice because someone else initiated combat with the boss. So yeah, stuff like this is why you really want to stay out of combat until the tank has attacked your targets, or at least started an attack on it. Ideally. It used to be, I seem to remember, it used to be like super easy to accidentally get into combat as a hunter, because I'd press the start attack button and it would immediately target whoever was in front of me and start shooting. Now, when I play my hunter, it's much harder to do that. If I press the attack button, it targets someone but does not start an attack. And if I press any of my ability buttons that need a target to shoot, they'll just straight up say no targets unless I manually target something to use them. Like, yeah, multi-shock is the one. Oh, or multi-shot, sorry. Okay, I remembered that kick request coming up for the hunter. So that was somebody requested to kick him because he engaged Lord Viletongue. It wasn't a problem. Everybody lived. It's completely unnecessary to remove him from the group for that. If I had, like, I'm the only one who, and I guess the healer maybe, would have any reason to complain about that, really. And it wasn't a problem for me. I was okay with it. But somebody was unhappy with what he did. Okay, yeah, so I do remember... Right, so we're moving on to Celebrus. I do remember when that kick request came up, I read the message and thought, what? What did he do? It was fine. There was no problem. Not having been quite as aware at that time that he was specifically the one who had attacked Lord Viletongue. It could have been anybody, as far as I knew. I don't like to play the blame game. Especially when nobody in the party even dies during the encounter. Like, just zero reason to kick there. I was completely fine with what had happened there. But again, so this is another thing that's contributing to group tension here. People are unhappy with this hunter. At least somebody is, but not enough were unhappy with what he did to kick him. So I think someone else must have clicked no also for the vote to have failed. Yeah, so I remembered that those things did their little splatter move. And deal damage to anybody who's close. So I tried staying kind of far away from them while I attacked them. Didn't really like the feel of that, so I think for the rest of them I tried staying close and see how well that'll work. Because yeah, I'm less familiar with this section of the dungeon just because I never get to see it because everybody skips it for whatever reason. So I'm kind of just playing it by ear for a bit. So yeah, for this group, what if I stay in close? Let's see how much damage I take from that. Shaman Healer can probably keep up. And it seems she can just fine. Wait, is that a male Vulperaface or female? They're hard to tell apart. I think that's a male. Okay. Slightly different snout shapes. And like cheek fluff. I guess I don't have Silencing Avenger's Shield at this point, otherwise I'd have a way to deal with that. Yeah, okay, so no silence from that. I can keep threatening him from here, though, even if he's not standing in my consecration. It's fine. Rogue's kind of suffering from being in melee with these things, but I guess I just leave it up to her to step in and out as necessary. I'm kind of suffering too. I have no idea how Restoration Shaman throughput is at this level. He did keep up after a bit. And all of a sudden, he really needs a bathroom break, in all caps. So, like, this is fine. You can take a bathroom break. Things happened in two different places at once. I was heading for those slimes, and then the Cavern Lurker got our attention from back there. Anyway, so I'm acknowledging. Yes, I hear you. You can take a bathroom break. That's fine. I hadn't said anything in the dungeon at this point, so I just wanted to make sure he knew that I was communicating. I'm aware of you. You're fine. So then I stop right here. Oh, right, there's a poison effect from those that both of us are just standing right in. Am I not realizing it's happening to me? When my screen flashes red, I finally do. So yeah, a roleplayer woman over there. Oh wait, why are people fighting? There was Light of the Protector. Yeah, okay, so I do have that. I just realized. Important ability. I can use it to heal myself instantly for a fair bit. And doesn't have too long a cooldown on it. So yeah, instant heal. Pretty much just free healing based on how much health I am missing. It's an extremely good ability, and I want to use it all the time, and I'm feeling silly at this point for having forgotten that I had it and neglected it for the earlier part of the run. So yeah, I'll be using Light of the Protector after that. So anyway, this particular shaman is very unhappy with the way Anana is conducting herself. And decides to come back with not a particularly great retort. So anyway, my group members are starting a petty fight with each other, of course. Role player collides with somebody who doesn't want to participate in it, but does want to respond to things like that. So this is unfortunate. So I'm kind of trying to judge here, like, I did click no reasonably quickly there, because at this point I was judging that I can probably still get all of these people through this dungeon without the run falling apart too much. I'm not really happy about it. This kind of drama is probably a little more fun to see from an outside perspective than to be right in the middle of it. But, you know, I've seen this kind of bickering between party members before. I'm not really involved here. I'm just present for it. It's not really nice to be present for it, but it's interesting, I guess. Am I standing in the green stuff? Now I am. I'm not sure if I was before. So yeah, it takes me a moment to realize what these noxious slimes do to the ground. Once you kill one, I guess what I start doing is, as soon as one dies, I move out of where it just died to not be in the poison gas. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking about, but I'm also just like, let's see, is this group gonna fall apart? So in character, she wants to Make a retort, of course. I think that might be the last we hear of this. So yeah, the kick request on the Hunter didn't actually... Right, Hunter did do something that I would prefer he hadn't done, but it didn't end up ultimately causing a problem. I wasn't going to let a kick go through for that. The second one was a lot iffier. Like, it's kind of borderline. I still didn't want to click yes just because I wanted to get the dungeon done with, there isn't that much left to it, and I was kind of judging that it would be fine, but, you know, when people start getting that rude, I'm a lot more willing to accept a kick for rudeness than for, things like, you know, an accidental pull on a boss. Because, like, once people start bickering like this, things can go downhill very fast. But I don't know. I made my judgment call. Nobody got kicked. And I continue dragging this group of children through the dungeon with me. We're almost at Celebras, I think. There was another run I did with this same character way back in Ragefire Chasm that had something kind of similar happen. I hadn't been recording at the time, so I didn't catch that. It wasn't... didn't seem as worth showing, and, you know, I didn't have footage for it, so I couldn't. But yeah, I don't know. This is something that happens. People just decide to start fights with each other over kind of petty things. See, like, my preference is to try to de-escalate when things like that come up. You know, if somebody wants to say something rude to me, well, really, my default action these days is just to completely ignore it. If I make no reply, then the conversation can't go anywhere. If I respond, maybe it'll feel like I'm defending myself and accomplishing something, but really just most of the time I don't see that accomplishing anything, so if I have a good way to ignore what's being said, then that's just what I'll usually do. Silence is a very powerful tool. Yeah, it's just not necessary to respond to everything that's being said to you all the time. And if it's already coming from a place of negativity, I don't know, it's just... so much of the time it feels like there's nothing that can really be done to bring that back to the positive. It's case by case, you know, this is just kind of what human communication is about. Judging how to respond to things like that. Anyway, yeah, so I guess kind of my hope is that this healer player here learns something about not responding to things like that, and perhaps the role player character also learns something about not bringing role play to random dungeon groups, because they're not going to be as receptive to it as people on your server who have opted into that style of gameplay. Anyway, so here's Celebras the Cursed. He's a dryad, summons some tree friends. That's about it, I guess. We're right at the edge of the top of Earthsong Falls here. So if we walk just a bit to the south, we end up in the final wing of this dungeon. But this is the end of this wing as queued in the Dungeon Finder, so there's no particular... you don't get the Dungeon Finder rewards for moving on from here. You can go on and clear Princess Thoradros if you want. Could also have taken a different turn and gone to Foulspore Cavern if you wanted. But the way the Dungeon Finder splits it up, this is the end of the Wicked Grotto. So finally, we get to actually see the end of the Wicked Grotto as it's supposed to be. The slimes and oozes on the way to Celebras are a lot more serious than he actually is. You know, he's not nothing, has a big health pool, summons some dudes, but as bosses go, not really a problem. EZWP, guys. I assume EZ is easy. Not so sure about the WP part. I should know what that stands for. Anyway, yeah, I got out of there real quick because I was sick of those people. But I did manage to get all of them through it. So yeah, I'd be happy to hear any thoughts on this. Any of you who are watching this. If you would have handled that differently, what you think about those group dynamics. Like, yeah, I stayed quiet and just did the best I could to get those people through it. Anyway, so it went okay, I guess. About as well as I could do with the situation. I'll see you at the next one.